Now, I had a question on my channel from the 5-string dude, I'm guessing you're a bass player, who asked me about the iRig. So I'm going to demonstrate both guitar and bass with this, with iOS on GarageBand on an iPad. Now, this is the iRig Stomp. The iRig is available in all sorts of different formats. You can get the sort of tiny little sort of tubes that you plug your guitar amp in. But what they all have are at least 3 connectors, which is the input from your guitar, which is a standard 1/4-inch jack, and then the headphone output, which you can either connect your headphones to, or in this case I'm feeding it to my recorder that you're listening to this presentation on, and then another cable that goes between your iOS device and the iRig, and the icon is a tiny little iOS symbol there. Now, the cable you need, you can't use a standard headphone cable with this. It has to have 3 rings instead of the 2. So if I just show you that up to the camera here, there we go. You can see that it's got, I'll just hold my hand in front of it, you can see that there are 3 rings there, not 2. It won't work otherwise. Now, the reason for that is the headphones have a left and right output, but there's also the third little band in on the new connector, on the 4 one, is the input instead. So I'm going to open up GarageBand, a new setting, and I'm going to look at my guitar amp. So I'm going to go clean, there we go, clean guitar amp, and then I'm faced with something that looks a bit like this. It's the GarageBand version of the VOX AC30. So I'm just going to play that now. Now I'm going to switch the iRig on, which allows the guitar to go through the processor here. Now, up here there's a little jack symbol which shows you your input level. I'm just going to leave it at there. You can do automatic where it kind of learns the input level and sets it accordingly. But as long as it's showing, that's fine. It will, however, make a difference to the gain stages of your guitar amps, simulators. So you've got to set this correctly. If you have the slider too low and you want a, you know, like a metal sort of sound, like, you know, a Soldano or a sort of Mesa Boogie, whatever, it's not going to have that same grunt as with the original amp. So there's also a noise gate, which is quite useful. It's basically a way of just getting unwanted hum and business from your guitar. I'm going to switch it off. I'm going to switch the monitor on, which means that you'll now hear. I'm just going to switch my amp off for a second. Would be helpful to tune the guitar up. There is a tuner built into this, which is fine. I'm just going to use that just to get my guitar in tune. So, now the gain at the moment I've got set, you can just see on the right hand side of your screen, I've got it set sort of halfway up. If I bring it right round, I've kind of got my, you know, overdrive sound. Now if I go back to my level input and turn it down, it's going to clean that amp sound up, but I've got the gain wound all the way up, so I'm going to need to make sure that my level is absolutely set right. So if I go to automatic and then monitor, now my input level as automatic has brought it down. I don't want that. I want it to be as loud as I possibly can without clipping it. So you can see that if the coloured slider goes up too far, don't know if you can see that on the camera there. There we go, yeah. So it's quite a thin band here, but you basically don't want it to go all the way to the top because you don't want to distort the sound on the digital recording. Now, when you record in GarageBand, you are not recording that amp sound. Instead, you are just recording the dry guitar, so that means you can change the amp afterwards. Okay, that means that I can turn the gain down of this. And clean it up if I want to. All good. So if I now go back to the start, I'm going to make sure that I've got my just make sure that. Now, the advantage of this also, of this particular iRig that's got its output on the on a 1/4 inch jack as well, is that you can actually play that track back through this. That's pretty useful. That's pretty useful actually, because then you can reamp it with you know, an old valve amp if you want to. But be aware, all those transistors inside the iPad have transistorized the sound really. So I can then go through. I'm just going to switch that off there. You can then select whichever combo you like from your list, and it won't have been affected by the recording. Sparkling clean. What's that then? That's a Fender Blackface. Okay, and all that's good. Now, latency wise, it can be an issue if you are playing guitar through one of these simulators. Luckily, the latency isn't too bad on this, but you've got to have that option of being able to listen, you know, without having to record through it. So you can either do that by recording the guitar through into a DI box and then into your iRig, and you could have a pair of headphones and another amplifier somewhere that enables you at least to play direct. It does take a little bit of, and there are some of the iRigs now that allow you to monitor the direct signal level for that exact reason of the latency. Now, just you know, you can get any of these sounds. Thick stack. Nice. So a Marshall JCM 800. And I think I hope you'd agree they sound good. You know, the thing is, you know, there's nothing like having a, you know, an old valve amp in your studio, but for convenience, this is just incredible, really. So bass-wise, you can connect a bass up as well. There's nothing to stop you using a guitar amp with your bass, but of course you will lose all the very bottom end from your bass, because there's not much ultra low on a guitar amp. So love it. So actually we can go back to the main categories and, well, click bass on here, and then it'll give me a set of sort of you know, you can get the sort of ampeg. So let's go back into here, make sure the monitor's on. For some reason, it ain't working. Sometimes, if you switch the monitor back on again with the level control, it should work. So here's a problem. I've suddenly come up against a problem. How am I going to solve this? Well, I have no idea why it's not actually working. So I can see it coming in. So it's not going to be the input here, it's going to be something to do with my output level. Let's just check, see if it's coming through here. But it's not when it's doing this. So we have ourselves an issue. The best thing you can do with this is to close it down. Get rid of GarageBand. Oh, I've got all the other things open. Come back into GarageBand and have another go. Sometimes you do get this sort of this sudden thing happening where it just doesn't make really any sense at all. Because there it is. So, moving swiftly along then. With a bass, of course, you can record a DI and you can, and you can change. It's like one of those sort of Trans Amp sort of things. So, and you get your sort of Ampeggy sort of sound. Once again, the latency is not too bad, but you could just literally go direct out of there. Now, the other thing that you can set, and this is under your preferences, if you go into settings and then GarageBand, there we go. So, crosstalk protection. Protect against crosstalk from a guitar connected to the headphone socket. What that does is it actually puts it out of phase. The idea being that you don't get any feedback. Now, if I set that to on, and then go into GarageBand again. If you're listening on a pair of headphones, what it's done is it's flipped one of the channels out of phase, which can actually drive you right around the twist because it's quite hard to listen to. All the bass has actually disappeared, and that is a feature of phase, of phase shifting, is that you get all your bottom end basically dies, or it sort of sounds like it's coming from the other side of the room. So if you don't get any feedback, your best bet is to switch that off, because it drives you around a twist otherwise. Not doing very well today, am I? I'm just going to close GarageBand down. It could be that the settings are not allowing me to change it because GarageBand is in fact running. There we go. Hey, it's let me do it. So, going back into GarageBand, you should be having your fully restored bass sound. And you get all the different bass amps. There's not as many sort of options as with the guitar, but it's okay. You can change it all afterwards. And of course, you can do all your EQing and all your compressing and all that actually on the iPad itself. And you can use it as a processor. You're listening to it literally with it's very little latency. So actually, if you go into a gig as a bass player and there's no PA system there, an iRig and an iPad can actually really sort you out for a really decent sound. And you can get pedal boards that have an iPad sort of hole, iPad shaped hole. You put your iPad in, and with some pedals like this you can actually switch effects in and out as well. So I hope that provides some sort of explanation of the iRig, and you can get this in many different forms, ranging from £20-25 upwards depending on the capability. I was actually given this one. Somebody didn't need it anymore. I went, yeah, great, thank you very much. So there it is, the iRig.